Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, which mainly focuses on the music of Elton John. I thought I'd just catch up with you in this video and react to some of the comments you've been sending in regarding my recent videos. Now, the most recent review I did was on the Restoration album. This was a set of songs, cover versions of Elton and Bernie's songs by country music artists. And I thought this was pretty good. It came out the same time as Revamp. And I'm just in the process of putting together a review of this one. And this is sort of more mainstream artists, I suppose, covering some of the songs on this one. Now, Beth sent in a comment saying that she feels that Restoration is the more successful album. And that seemed to be the general view of the critics at the time as well. Now, her choices of the best songs on the album were Honky Cat by Leanne Womack. Certainly agree with that. It's a super version if you haven't heard it. My Father's Gun by Miranda Lambert is also excellent. This Train, which was a duet between Rosanne Cash and Emmylou Harris, that's also very good indeed. And Border Song, Willie Nelson's version. So I actually agree on all four of those. All four outstanding reinterpretations of some great songs. Now, Scooter Boy has sent in a comment saying that I'm warming myself up here in readiness to tackle Elton John's album with Panow, which of course is a set of mashups of earlier Elton John songs. Yeah, I'm bracing myself, getting ready to listen to that. I've listened to it a fair bit already. It's interesting without me being sort of bowled over with enthusiasm for it, but I will certainly place a review of that album in due course. Now, Scooter Boy also questions whether there is any point to cover versions of Elton John songs. Is there any point reviewing them? Because I suppose they're all different in some way. Well, I would like to put out a search in a way for the very best cover versions. I'm going to review all these CDs that have come out, but I'm also on the hunt for versions on YouTube that people have done their own cover versions of Elton John songs. I've found quite a few already. And I'm really interested, not so much in professional artists, but in sort of versions that people do in their bedrooms or their back rooms or whatever, just with a keyboard and a camera. And you'll actually get some excellent quality music from these. So, if you know of any of those, please drop a line below. Scooter Boy's comment is that these cover versions don't really bring anything better to the table, even though some of them are presented in different genres than the original. He talks about Heather's take on Your Song. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to have a look at that. And covers on the 40th anniversary version of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But again, he says none of them is better than what's been done originally. Well, of course, we've got Ed Sheeran's version of Candle in the Wind, which is going to be on the Revamp CD. So I'm going to take a look at that in detail fairly shortly. The ones he mentions are Aretha Franklin's version of Border Song. Even that is not as good as the original, he says. Rod Stewart's Country Comfort. Yeah, again, not as good as the original. Even Kate Bush's Rocket Man. Now, he's turned the table slightly, saying that Elton has done a superior cover version of somebody else's song in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So that's an interesting view. Not personally one of my favourite Beatles songs, so I don't really like the cover version that much. But I would mention perhaps Pinball Wizard as... Is that a cover version? I don't know. The Who recorded that or not? They wrote it, but maybe they hadn't recorded it, so perhaps we can't call that a cover version. Some other cover versions to look at here. Belinda Carlisle doing Madman Across the Water. Al Jarreau doing Your Song. Bruce Hornsby doing Madman Across the Water. So we've got to listen to all those. I'm going to start a separate spreadsheet on cover versions, rating those still with my same system 1 to 10, and see if we can find the very best cover version of any Elton John song. Now, a little tip on this one that I know is going to score very highly. I keep mentioning it, but it's Coldplay's version of We All Fall in Love Sometimes from This, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And I just love the way they've done this song. So if there's a better cover version of an Elton John song out there, I would like to hear that. Now, other Elton matters. Now, Dirk has sent in an idea for a future video. I quite like this one, actually. He's talking about putting together a list of Elton's biographical songs. Obviously, there's lots on Captain Fantastic about himself, but he's also done quite a few songs, mostly written by Bernie, I think, that are about other people. Port String in Tupelo, about Elvis. Candle in the Wind, about Marilyn Monroe. I've Got Two Wings, about the elder Utah Smith. So there's quite a few already there in the list. And I suppose American Triangle is another one that's just come to mind that we could add in there. So if you've got any ideas on that, send them in. And perhaps if we included fictional characters as well, that could bump up the numbers to maybe a 30 or a 40. Now, comments still coming in about one of my earlier videos reviewing the Elton John album from 1917. If you remember, I gave this a very good review. It's the start of Elton's golden period there. Perhaps not quite as good as the run of 5 albums that came after that, but certainly some superior songwriting on this one. Now, John's written in saying that this one is his absolutely favourite Elton John album, but the 10 out of 10 that I gave to your song should have been given to a different song on there, and it's the song First Episode at Hyenton, which I would agree is an absolutely lovely song. This, we think, is probably Bernie looking back at an earlier relationship, perhaps when he was very young, a sort of time of innocence, maybe a time of loss of innocence. John says, I've never heard anybody ever talk about this track before and never seen Elton sing it live. I'm not sure he has ever sung it live unless you know different. It's almost as if it's just an album track to be ever forgotten about afterwards. But John says it's such a beautiful, beautiful track about first love. Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't know this one, give it a listen. It's a real treasure, this one, and it's a deep cut that I think a lot of fans will appreciate. I commented when I reviewed it on this sort of strange, sort of almost alien sound at the end. John here has commented that it's Diana Lewis playing a Moog modular synthesizer, which just adds a little bit of magic to the end of the song, reminding him of the ending of Ticking on Caribou, another great track, of course. This has an ARP synthesizer played by Dave Henschel. Yeah, check out First Episode. Wouldn't that be lovely to hear Elton sing that one again? One of his closing concerts, going right back to the beginning of his career. What else would you like to hear him sing, by the way? Something really from way in the background, maybe even one of those first tracks he recorded that have only just sort of come to light on the Jewel Box set. Right, some more comments from Dirk coming in about the Restoration album. He says, I don't think I've listened to a single one of these cover versions. He strongly dislikes the Two Rooms cover album. Now, I haven't reviewed that one yet, though I know there are some quite disappointing tracks on that. I reviewed the duets, and of course we've had the Lockdown Sessions, which was also duets, but I haven't yet reviewed Two Rooms. Dirk also wasn't keen on the cover versions included on the 40th anniversary of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which I don't actually have that version. I must get that. This kind of thing doesn't really float my boat at all. Does it really deserve a place on the album rankings list? Well, I suppose controversially, I did put my rating of the Restoration album in with all the other Elton John albums, just for comparison purposes. But as I've said, I will do a separate list of all the cover versions so they don't actually clash with songs that Elton must appear on for them to qualify for my main list. Jim, though, is a fan of the Restoration album. It's a really good and interesting version of Elton John's songbook. Definitely well worth listening to have a different experience of these classic songs. And that was kind of the point I was making, that when they really sound like country songs or bluegrass versions, that's when they really came alive. If it was a bit of a middle-of-the-road interpretation, I'm kind of thinking, well, why bother on this? Now, I did a video a while back ranking Elton's title tracks. So these are tracks that are the title of the album and also appear as a single cut on that disc. And I reckon there are about 17 or 18 of these. Now, Steve has sent in his ranking of these songs as well. He's got leather jackets at the bottom, and I think a lot of people will put that in Victim of Love there. Let's have a look at his top 3, though. The Diving Board, and not a particular favourite of mine, although I do enjoy a lot of that album. Number 2, Captain Fantastic, title track there. Yeah, that's a fine sort of folky, rocky song. Number 1, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And if you remember, I rated that song actually as my favourite ever Elton John song, purely for its originality and interest. So interesting set of choices there, Steve. Many thanks for sending those in. I also did another video recently ranking all of Elton's albums from 34 to 1. So I've reviewed all of them. You'll find videos here of every single one with every single track ranked. Raphael has sent in their top 10 of Elton's albums. Empty Sky coming in at number 10, interestingly. Elton's first early album, except for Regimental Sergeant Zippo, which we will come to at some stage. Top 3, Madman Across the Water at 3. Number 2 is Regimental Sergeant Zippo. Now, I haven't heard that in its entirety. I have heard a lot of the tracks and sort of rehearsal versions on the Jewel box. I'm working on those at the moment. I'll get to Regimental Sergeant Zippo. Number 1 album, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. A lot of people would agree with that is a masterpiece. Just a reminder that my own top one was Tumbleweed Connection, which Raphael has got at number 8. So thanks very much for sending that selection in. I'm just going to do one more here. I recorded another video looking at all of Elton's closing tracks on his albums and rating those from 34 to 1. Now, Steve has sent in his whole list. His worst one, by the way, is The Open Chord, then Victim of Love. I don't think Victim of Love is actually that bad a song, really. But let's look at the top 5 he's got there. The Diving Board, that continues to be a popular choice among fans. Number 4 is Curtains, which is a bit of a Hey Jude moment, isn't it, from Captain Fantastic. High Flying Bird, no arguments with that. A superb ending to the Don't Shoot Me album. Song for Guy, number 2 from A Single Man. And number 1 is Blue Avenue. It's a lovely song, this one, that a lot of people don't sort of know, or perhaps don't rate as highly as they should. Quite an original melody to that one, and quite a creative lyric. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up now because I don't want to make this video too long, but I've got some more comments to get through. Many thanks for sending them in. I do read all your comments and I respond to them as much as I can. I have got a little bit behind, but I will be looking at them all in these Elton John chat videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Don't forget, we're still standing.